It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody showed. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customer tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda. Welcome to Ground Zero Season 2, a show that brings you in-depth discussion ranging from politics, health, finance, sports, and so much more. Ground Zero Season 2.
Hello dear listener, you're most welcome to UBC Ground Zero. We're broadcasting live on 98 FM UBC Radio. We are also live and clear on other radio stations, but you can get us on 97.4 FM in Arua, 98.0 FM in Kampala, 99.4 FM in Lila. We are also live and clear on another radio station, UBC Butebo. You can get us live on 96.9 FM in Bale, 98.4 FM in Soroti, 95.5 FM in Arua. We are also live and clear on another radio station known as West Nile FM. That is live on 98 FM. And we're also live on Magic 100 FM. And we are streaming live on YouTube. You just enter UBC Ground Zero and you be part of the conversation. Ampaire Amon Utega is my name, and I welcome you to this very important edition of Ground Zero. Today we're going to discuss sports. That powerful a sector that unites all of us, and having a national league that yearly plays off the soccer in Uganda is the most popular sport and sector entertainment. Cricket, rugby, and also attract large numbers of spectators, whereas boxing offers a national trophy in the even divisions, and it is also popular. We're going to talk about all the disciplines that are appreciated by Uganda as a country and the people and the government. We're going to talk about the opportunities that are within the sports industry. We're going to look at the challenges that we face as a country and the people of Uganda. We're going to also look into all the detailed circumstances and issues that are within the industry. It is a very big privilege that we are discussing this because it is one of the things that have made the name Uganda be popular outside the borders of Uganda, where our country has been known and the flag has been flying high. I'm glad to have been joined by a very good guest who knows the best of the sports and is going to be telling us more how far we have come as a country, the journey that we have walked. Under the topic Uganda at 60, the journey of sports development in the country. I have Luanga Christopher, the head of ideology research and documentation from UPC Secretariat. I have known him for knowing the history of this country, the continent of Africa, the region of East Africa, and I'm glad that he is also much into sports. It's a very big privilege having you, Christopher Wanga.
Thanks very much, Comrade Amon, the moderator, and thanks very much for UBC for being concerned with the topics which relate to us on a daily level. But before I proceed, I need to deliver messages of thanks and appreciation from our party president, Honorable Jim McKenna, the UPC Secretariat, and the General Fraternity of UPC at celebrating 60 years of independence.
Interesting. Africa is littered with examples of countries like Ivory Coast, Liberia, that have utilized the power of sports and personalities to forge peace and development in their countries. We see Kenya and Ethiopia dominating the world sports, especially in the Olympics whereby they have been fetching a lot of medals. And we're asking ourselves, how can Uganda as a country also tap into this global capital emanating from the sports industry? Because we entered the same year in the Olympics with Kenya, with Ethiopia in 1956. We ought to be, or we are celebrating 66 years of sports and joining the Olympics, but we see us only harvesting 11 medals. And we are asking, within the 56 years, this is how far we have gone. We only have 4 gold medals, and of which 1 or 2 were we got them just a few years ago. If not mistaken, that was 2020. We're asking ourselves, what is the problem? And I've been glad to have been joined by Dr. Bernard Patrick Ogwell, is the Secretary General, National Council of Sports. Most welcome, Doctor.
My pleasure to be here.
Okay. It's also great to have you and to come and speak to the people of Uganda in as far as the sports industry is concerned. To start with, Dr. Bernard.
I'm very, very religious in listening to you.
All right. We have walked a journey as a country for the 60 years that we've been celebrating. But looking at the time of sports, when sports joined the international committee to talk about the Olympics and athletics, where they are celebrating 66 years since 1956. But we have vested a few medals or many medals. But before we go into that, one may ask themselves, what is National Council of Sports? Let's start from there.
Oh, thank you very much. Again, I want to thank you for this special moment you've given me to speak to our countrymen and women and our sport lovers. I want to start by informing you that National Council of Sports is a statutory organ or authority of government enacted by Act of Parliament in 1964 with a primary mandate to promote and develop all forms of sports in Uganda. At the time, they talk of amateur sports. That's why today we are doing the validation of a new and a better policy to address the growing demand of the sport industry. But nevertheless, it is the only sole authority of government mandated by law to promote and develop all forms of sports at community, schools, nationally and internationally for government. You have asked already a very, very critical question, why we have not harvested many medals. In fact, you mentioned 4 gold medals. But I would want to first start by observing that we need to know where we have come from as a country. Sports is an industry. You need to ask a big question to whoever is listening, me and you. Do we treat sport as an industry? That question has many faces in terms of response. Because if it's an industry, today many parts of the world are reaping much more than what perhaps we are reaping, because they look at sport as an industry. In some or many countries, sports is looked at as a leisure, entertainment. Others even actually look at it as a form of physical activity. So, in terms of the benefits that are associated with sports, all sports, you find we are not in doing investment like others have done. And you can give statistics to that effect as well. If I look around the country in Africa, despite the recent excellent performances we have registered in the last, I would say,
Africa, for a school, it was ultra modern with all the facilities. So you find that from there, almost each and every school had given sports facilities, had been given sports facilities. So much so that every institution also of the colonial government had an outlet of sports activities. When my political party won the 1962 elections and formed a government, this is when now you are going to see rapid transformation. But that rapid transformation came as a result of a major setback. We are celebrating independence on October 9th, and we invited the Black Stars of Ghana. The way the Black Stars sliced Uganda cranes, it was as if there is a very sharp knife cutting butter and bread. So after we had been beaten so badly,
so what would be the celebration turned to be?
Yes, and the Black Stars continued to touch several places in the region. Our government had to sit down and say, what do we do? We are independent. We have invited our independent brothers who got their independence in 1967. They have showed us a touch which you can't manage.
Indeed, they showed you that they were independent.
Yes, and these people in 1958, they invited us, and we have been discussing a lot of things. Why don't we find their magic formula? This is the time now Uganda government approached formally the CPP government of Ghana. And when they approached them, Comrade Kwame Nkrumah said, no, this issue has to be handled directly in Kampala, in Uganda, and sent a super executive Ghanaian known as J.W. Wantomi with a mandate to help Uganda come out of that being sliced. She's the person who engineered the coming up of the National Council Constitution, which my friend referred to, of 1964. And at the same time brought in a Ghanaian model which has helped to bring up those people who overrun the cranes in our backyard. And this model of Ghana was to start from the grassroots as you are going up and identifying the talent. It was a very good guideline, such that us who studied even in primary in the late 70s or mid 70s, we found that sort of structure. Each primary school, for instance, in any area, it used to have a junior team, an intermediate team, and a senior team. And anybody who is very capable could play intermediate and senior, or junior and what. But that was on each and every specific sport
or discipline.
So that meant that Uganda had a huge pool of amateur or younger people. Then it did not stop there. It went into national competitions of primary. Then it jumped into post-secondary, post-primary competitions nationally. Then from there, again, since the focus was to get the youth as much as possible, various institutions on top of schools came in also. This is when we floated ideas like of Nusu, Nuyo, where sports was a part of the daily diet. And because of that new dimension, new thinking, Uganda invested very well, and the reaping was to start more in the 1970s and even slightly a bit in the 60s. And from that time you could see that footballers like Paul Ouma could come straight from Chitovu into a leading club. You could even see these boxers like Becca Mwanga from Namasagali, they could just fit in. Because what was happening, the first-class quality facilities were given to the schools. District sports masters were empowered, and you could see the real movement forward. And that focus we had, politically or ideologically, that the future belongs to the youth, but the youth must be shaped in a certain manner. Now, unfortunately, our politics got a bit of a problem, and the UPC-led government of Dr. Apollo Milton Obote was overthrown on 25th January 1971. The overthrow came at the right time of reaping all the investments we have done in sports, we have done in agriculture, we have done in mining. It took over at the time of harvest.
So we went back to zero.
He harvested results immediately, but could not sustain that model. And that is where the problem is coming from, and that is where the problem National Council of Sports.
And that one also marketed Uganda. For us, we know that performance of athletes markets the country even much more. Okay. And you'll find people outside this country wanting to come to Uganda to find out where these people train from. They want to find out the country where these stars come from. So Uganda has been marketed, and this contributes to the economy of our country.
Speaking of that, Mr. Otichete.
Yes.
Many people think that as a federation, you are benefiting from the individual efforts, that Stephen would be suffering somewhere in the mountains, training himself, and when he's at the level of competing at the region or the global level is when you pick him, and when he wins is when we celebrate him as a country.
That is absolute. It's because people don't understand. People don't understand how we manage our sport. It's only in Uganda. I said this before. It's only in Uganda that people think athletes come from the blue and they win. But before those athletes win, those athletes are prepared. They are prepared by us. You know, we are formed by clubs and associations. Do you have in any way
the academy or those clubs where you nurture the athletes?
We do. We have even our own training camp. I can tell you it is a multi-pronged approach. We have a UF training camp. And our training camp, which we actually built, by the way, is in Ibuko, in a place called Kapkoros in Ibuko. That is a training camp we built as UF. Okay. And the training camp we built is also next to Arua Athletics Club training camp. Okay. So whenever we have any preparation of athletes there, the girls stay in the Arua Athletics Club facility, then the boys stay in the UF facility, and training happens because they are next to each other. Not only that, we encouraged our clubs and associations also to set up their club camps. Then we also encourage international managers to set up camps now within Uganda here. And as we talk, we have several training camps, especially in Kapchorwa and Kwen. We also still have a few in Buko. And if I went back to Stephen Kiprotich, the time when Stephen Kiprotich was training for the 2012 Olympic Games, that time we only had, that was the time we had begun and we are building our own training camp. But he had an international manager from Global Sport, who had these people had a camp in Eldoret. Okay. And what happened is that when he qualified, and by the way, even before qualifying, Stephen went for international competitions. I remember he qualified in a city of Inshed. Okay. When he went for an international competition. So what we decided to do when we were preparing for London, we said for marathoners all our marathoners, because that year we had, for men, we had only him who had qualified. For women, we also had Jane Suto who had qualified. So we decided that for marathoners and distance athletes, we are going to prepare them from where they have been training. So because of that, we allowed Stephen Kiprotich still to train in Kaptagat in Eldoret. And we did not only just allow, we sent a coach. We sent Gordon Ahimbisibwe to go there and train him from that place.
Okay.
And thereafter, when he was heading to London, he came back home and exited the country through Entebbe, of course, and then the medal came. But people did not know that. Some people even thought Stephen prepared on his own, but we prepared him before those championships.
Apart from Stephen, because you said he was training before you built that sports facility, and since you set up and established that sports facility, is there anyone that has won us a medal in your nurturing, or those that you have been nurturing?
Several. All these medals we are winning, it is from our nurturing. Maybe, let me also tell you another athlete. I can talk about Chesang Stella. I, as a president, I have a club, even myself, Alpha Athletics Club. I started with the young boys and young girls in Kwen, and we set up a training camp in a place called the Kere in Kwen. And now these athletes have now grown and have reached that level. We had Stella Chesang as one of the young athletes that we had there. That Stella Chesang, people know that she won a gold medal in Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast. But prior to that, she had won so many other gold medals, especially in World Mountain Race. And it's not only her. When we set up that camp, I had 24 athletes in the camp, young athletes. They were in the age of 16, 17. And then they graduated to youth, they graduated to junior, and now they are all seniors. So I'm just giving you one example. The medals that our athletes are winning, we are the ones that prepared them. If you talk about Joshua Cheptegei, we identified him actually when he was joining university. And it is us who took him to Bugema University. And while at the university, the first international medal he won, actually, he did it here in Entebbe. During that year when we hosted the World Cross Country Championship, we also hosted the World University Cross Country. So his first gold medal came from the World University Cross Country in Entebbe, where he ran in the senior category and won that gold medal. So after that, then the same year, he went to Oregon for the World Junior, and he also won the World Junior gold medal.
Mr. President, talking about identifying Joshua Cheptegei and many others, one would ask themselves, what is your talent identification strategy? What do you use to identify those young talents?
We have a robust strategy. One, we know that the young athletes are always we identify them from primary level and secondary. So what we do, when we have the schools competitions, we always partner with schools. And as even I speak now, for secondary schools, we are in a process of signing an MOU with them. But before that MOU, we are the ones that manage all the technical aspects of their competitions. They always write to us as a federation, and we give them technical people to go and manage the competition.
Interesting.
We have always done it for secondary schools. We have done it for primary schools, because these are the nurseries, particularly primary schools are the nurseries that give us potential athletes. When we identify good athletes, first of all, we also encourage them to be channeled to particular schools, because there are particular schools that also grant scholarships to excelling athletes. And we follow them there. We actually even assign coaches to them to follow them in those places.
Our time is fast spent, Mr. President. Maybe the one of the last questions that I must not miss. What are some of your structures and facilities or policies that you have brought up as a federation to promote talent? New policies?
The policies that we put in place. One, when you'll get to know that we have what we call the Kids Athletics Program. We have the Kids Athletics. World over, the implementation of the Kids Athletics Program was first implemented here in Uganda. It was a program that we partnered with our world governing body, World Athletics, and then we worked with government, with the Ministry of Education and Sports. So the program of World Athletics started here in Uganda before it spread out to other nations. And not only that, when you look at our strategic plan of 2010, you know, I'm not having it right in front of me here, but I can say during that time, one of the things we focused on was that we want to encourage numbers, to create more numbers of excelling athletes. And to create more numbers, we deliberately said we want more training camps to be set up. And that's why now you find a lot of training camps have been set up in the
Interesting.
country.
Our time is not our friend. Maybe your last comment on this?
No, my last comment I can say, as a country, athletics will continue to be the number one sport in this country in terms of performance. We are going to continue to be the number one sport because we have put in concrete parameters now that we have those training camps. We also have structures. Right now we are working out training programs for coaches at all levels. And actually next week we shall be rolling out the coaching structure for coaches at all levels. So this will also help buttress, this will also help lift up performance. And then the other strategy is to diversify, to make sure that we excel not only in this middle and long distance. We want to uplift the sprints, and already we are coming up, and also in field events. So when we do that, athletics is still set to excel for our country world over.
Thank you, Mr. President, for being part of UBC today.
You are welcome, and thank
and
you
as
too.
the people of Uganda, we love and celebrate what you're doing in the Federation of Athletics.
But I also want to thank you, the media, because without you out there, people would not know what is happening. So I appreciate you, UBC, and other media people that bring out this clearly.
Interesting.
Thank you, and God bless you.
God bless you too. UBC Ground Zero on UBC Radio, UBC Butebo, UBC Western Nile FM, and Match 100 FM, and we're streaming live on YouTube. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and just put UBC Ground Zero. You'll be part of the conversation. Uganda at 60, the journey of sports and development in the country. Dr. Bernard Patrick Ogwell, General Secretary, National Council of Sports. Dr. Ranga Christopher is coming from UPC Secretariat, and you've heard from Dominic Othcheti, is the President of Uganda Athletics Federation. Dr. Bernard, you've heard from Othcheti, and is proud that the athletes are making it and raising the Ugandan flag high. Looking at the several international fora, Uganda athletes have more often lifted the country's flag up high. Is it possible to reduce the budget from the other disciplines and we concentrate on the athletics, because that's where we're benefiting as a country?
Oh yes, Amon, that is a very good strategy, and we are looking forward to that. Maybe for your information, in this recurrent financial year, the allocation of government of Uganda in the annual budget and the subvention to athletics is 1.6 billion. That is the threshold of support. But we have under major games component where we have up to 8.5 billion. Much of that support goes to athletics federation. I have already observed that in the last 5 years, we have injected over 10 billion.
Okay.
to athletics. Now, there is one thing the president did not make you know, that in all the development programs that support them to have national trials, the camps, the various camps, participation in regional, continental, and world championships, it has been fully funded by government.
Okay.
This is a point he missed. I thought he was going to make it. And we should be proud that the government, that's what I talked about earlier, that is a priority. We have identified priority spots.
Okay.
We knew we could not handle all the 51, but we give those ones with the what we call an inch over each other, over the other. Now, the other sports which are popular, and by design, you note that they offer much more solution to national development. Because I don't want to bring the argument of FUFA here, because FUFA is allocated 10 billion. But you know how many people are football employees, among others.
Okay.
And this was strategic and guided by the president.
Interesting.
Now, all other sports are important. That's why up to date, out of the 51, 11 disciplines have been prioritized. And if I can tell you briefly, football is planned to get 17 billion. Athletics followed by 1.6 billion. Boxing 1 billion. Netball 1 billion. Rugby 1 billion. Because rugby, we have just come out of the rugby sevens in South Africa, World Cup, and we even managed to beat Germany. And we note that we are current holder of the ball of the cup for the ball finals.
Thank you, Doctor.
We have others under the athletics Paralympic committee.
Okay.
Because we balance. We have offered them 750 million, and others like the university sports. We give them 500 million, cricket 500 million, and that order.
Okay.
So what is clear, therefore, one, in terms of strategy, is to ensure that we have holistic grassroots program that support nurturing talent, identifying and nurturing talent.
Okay.
Then to have programs that brings clear picture of where these talents are found to national platform, such that these federations can be able to develop them further.
We're in the rush hour. This is our second hour in this program, and it is always a rush hour. You are concluding on that, Doctor? As
I want to just conclude that we have very ambitious plan, and one of the ambitious plan first is to address key issues in talent identification and development.
Okay.
Two is to look at infrastructure, and if you have followed the recent debates, government is prioritizing how sports infrastructures, starting with the regions of Uganda, and then the national development.
Okay.
We have since also addressed ourselves to the schools, among others, to ensure that they have the minimum requirement, because we have noted of the high rates of encroachment on sports facilities, which you find some schools actually don't have any serious. So the ministry has addressed that, and the circular has been issued, and the districts, local governments have been asked really to put attention to that.
Oh, thank
now,
you, Doctor.
Others will be in terms of program. Maybe another issue which you don't know, and this is one of the issues we have always raised. Every district of Uganda is allocated 40 million Uganda shillings.
40 million.
To support sports development agenda. This is managed by district local governments. But in most cases, this money, from the recent outlook of events, it appears is not used appropriately to support. Although it is small, we expect the district local government to supplement it with their local revenues. But this comes from central government. But the impact in terms of talent education and development, and we are going to do much more sensitization so that the stakeholders in those districts should put districts to task why their children are not being supported to participate.
Thank you,
especially the national championship that exposes them to the national grid for selection and representation for our country.
Dr. Rwanga, do you see concentrating on one discipline being so much important? Not that they were leaving the others, but we front one in that we may benefit and tap onto the global capital. Because if you are to look at Ethiopia, they have other sports, but they are best known in athletics, and they always win in these Olympics, Ethiopia and Kenya.
Thanks very much for coming back to me.
Mm.
I may slightly differ with my brother, the General Secretary of National Council of Sports. Always they encourage us to diversify our opportunities. If you are growing coffee and you are growing it properly, don't over-rely on coffee. A change of season can happen and you are in problems. So diversification in sports helps you to keep the momentum going. But as you diversify in various aspects of sports, you make sure that you tighten the loose ends. You tighten the loose ends. Now in Uganda, it is not the people running sports who don't tighten properly. It is the athletes, the sports people they have brought up. They haven't fused in that culture that Dorcas is Kuru. This is your prime time. Forget about the socio-economic pressures of West Nile's that you must produce a daughter. You must get married. Let us imitate the template of Maria Matola. When is she getting pregnant? When is she retiring? Fuse it in your model of training. Then this athletics, or whatever, whether it is boxing, whether it is running, whether it is what, it has a time frame. Why don't we maximize that time frame? Of course, a person like Karusha Bwara of Zambia, the former captain and the national coach, admitted he was from Copper Belt. Copper Belt is one of the most exciting places of Zambia, and went to play for a Belgium club. The first amount of money he got, he had to buy a luxury car. And is telling now, is passing on this knowledge to the rest of the upcoming athletes. And the upcoming athletes are now doing far, far much better than Karusha. Because Karusha has taught them from his lessons. Now, all those other sporting competitions, because now sport is a global investment, they offer a lot of opportunities, especially when you handle them at a technical level, at a well-administered level. I will give you an example. When we were in primary, netball was good at an amateur level, and we used it to dominate East and Central. But netball had not gone up internationally. Now, if you ask the best sportswomen we have, who have traversed the world and the world has adopted them, it is the athletes. I mean the netballers. They are doing very, very well. Ugandan netballers. Okay, they are doing very, very well.
The Shikren.
Yes. Then take an example of footballers. When female football was starting, I was in Zambia and I was seeing it. But our talent was more or less competing the Zambian talent, because by that time I was working for Zambia. The Zambian talent was rising very, very steadily. Now, from 1990, as we speak today, the Zambian women team is almost surpassing the main team. So if they had gone for that strategy that we go only for male team, this good beauty would not come out. So I would imagine that regardless of whatever expenses or what have you, let us develop all the facilities very keenly and guide this younger talent of how to evolve.
Yes. Dr. Rwanga, we are performing better in the Olympics and other the Commonwealth Games and the others. But where the flag of Uganda is being raised high is through the athletics. And according to the General Secretary of National Council, they are allocating them 1.7 billion, and they are giving. 1.6. Yes.
I have said 1.6, but
1.6
that is
billion.
directly as a subvention. But we have
And
other
they are giving
activities.
17 billion to football, which we have not even crossed the borders of the region, even the continent.
Maybe I can explain you this thing. Okay, sports as a discipline, don't look at it in a narrow perspective. When Dokasins Kuru won that medal of Commonwealth, the whole country united. When Uganda Cranes managed to qualify after, is it
49 years.
Yes, for Africa Cup of Nations, even the country forgot the problems they were having. Okay, so you are going to see that sports has a role of calming down nerves in the whole country. And sports has a role of bringing people together.
Yeah, true.
Okay, and sports speaks a language, okay, which cuts from a country to a region to the global community. Okay,
Interesting. Okay.
when you are having these various issues causing you havoc, or you are trying to fight in parliament, or you are trying to handle this, sports will come in and fit in properly.
Interesting.
Okay, so from that perspective, I want this holistic approach where we can mobilize our resources, invest, develop. You see, to develop a sports person, it is not easy. Me, I started at Mugongo Primary. I was a good footballer. My games master added on something. I went to P7 Kako Primary, where I found better facilities and I developed more. Then I shifted to Namiryango. Namiryango had all the facilities, but they did not have the real technique of making me a very good footballer. Then when I crossed to Rubiri, I found a master Eddie Butindo, who was very good, and he organized these inter-class games.
All right.
Me, I was senior 5. The sort of game of defense I played made the school to have a meeting and a debate about me.
Okay.
And the debate, when it was held, they were saying this person should go straight into the national, into the school team. Then they said, no, we have to give him a test to be cleared. So they brought cases which had remained while the other cases had gone to Malawi. And he cleared all those cases, left wingers, the Moseses and all that. That is when now I joined the pinnacle of that football, then the tournament, and up to Nachivubo.
All right.
But you see that long journey that you don't just jump from the top as a bird is climbing the top of the tree.
Interesting.
You have to start it from and systematically.
Saying that football unites us, you reminded me of the statement by the British journalist and author Jordan Collin that sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire, the power to unite people. It is more powerful in governments in breaking down the real racial barriers. And indeed, when Uganda Cranes is playing, you don't talk about any political party or any tribe. We're all Ugandans. And that's why we should treat sports as very important. Rwanga said something that I had wanted to talk about. And crossing it to you, Dr. Ogwell.
Yes.
We had our traditional games, our traditional sports and disciplines. In Uganda, we had a traditional, it was called Chugo or something. And when the Europeans came, they came with their own games. And we forgot about our own. Don't you think if we had done our own, perhaps we would have exported them some countries and would be getting visitors here in Africa?
Well, firstly, it is not only for purposes of convenience, but it's also for national pride of the country to have indigenous sport. And government has provided a very good atmosphere. in terms of the policies of government of now, anybody can promote a sport, but there are set benchmark, which, for example, if it is to be nationally recognized, you must have 75% coverage of the entire country.
Okay.
That means in terms of regions. Now, there are those particular indigenous sport which has been talked about, but we also have it. Maybe the way it is being organized doesn't touch down to the real community. For example, wrestling. We have wrestling federation. And I know in Uganda, wrestling was one of the activities, annual activities, where competitions are held and celebrations and all that. We have it. But we have not yet won at the Olympics and Commonwealth. And we have been participating, by the way.
Okay.
Even the recent Commonwealth, we had wrestlers. The Olympics, we had wrestling. We also had powerlifting. So, to me, we as a country, we need to embrace. Government agenda is very clear, it is open. They can even actually organize it, promote it, and register it for government to support even financially.
Okay.
But you see, we don't manage a sport. We support sports programs. Now that means there should be people outside there who have the passion, who have the ability to organize the communities to participate in those sports. Possibly to do much more in terms of awareness creation and mobilization. Because when they come up and they follow those procedures as laid down, government will embrace it and it will be supported. Because the regulations for registering national sports federations are clear. You meet the benchmark, you are issued a certificate of existence. And what next is that government will be able to support you financially through granting aid and also offering technical advice. Now, the other issue is some of those sports must also be grounded in a way that, for example, in the school system, do we have regulations for them? Do we have technical people who can promote them? But if it is just for leisure and all that, then sometimes is where we have issues.
Interesting.
But if it is for cultural heritage and the rest, through our community mobilization, we must come out of it. And this can be anybody. When you do it, and we shall provide the guidance required. Now, we are in a global world. We are competing with the rest of the world. We want to be among the world best. That's why we have to distinguish ourselves. What Uganda has comparative advantage.
All right.
The reason of prioritization, the reason why now our athletes have captured the whole world. We have 5 national world record breakers here. You may not get it in all the countries. We have young Kiplimo, who is holding so many titles. Right. Joshua and these other people. But what we are saying simply is we need to look in all these sports and concentrate much more in identifying talent at the grassroots. This Dr. is the message I pick from here from my colleague Dr. Luanga. We must have at all levels, junior, intermediate, and senior.
Our time is fast spent, Doctor. Maybe the other one, how do we fit in the 2040 vision? In seconds, because our time is fast spent, Doctor.
The 2040 vision is a very good aspect for nation development, but also is grounded on proper planning and strategies to harness that. Already, as I've mentioned, in the National Development Plan 3 for Government of Uganda, the interventions are very clear that require us to address the issue of talent identification and development.
Thank you.
And we are doing this with the federations I've mentioned. We are doing this with the ministry through the Physical Education and Sports Department in schools. Now, we would be able to roll out these particular programs through schools, through communities, and through national sport federations.
Okay.
Because that will lead us to the 2040 vision. Thank you.
776511426.
Maybe the other one, to reach 2040 vision, government also has to prioritize sports infrastructural development.
Okay.
Yes.
776511426 is the number that you can call, and I'm giving you only seconds because our time is fast spent. And let me start with this one. UBC Ground Zero.
Yes, I'm on. This is Juma from Butebo.
Glad that you are part of UBC. You have only seconds, sir.
Thank you. I'd like fraternity to pay attention.
Okay.
I heard it from one of your guests. They are saying those days some stadiums they could be suitable for like 3 playing grounds, but today some of part of it had been taken for agricultural activities. Now, when I ask the comparison, okay, how does the local government they collaborate with the central government? Because when you see the political leaders, wherever they're going to hire, okay, the venue, the playing ground for the political issues, these are the people from top here, Kampala or Central or State House, where they go down deep in the villages there, where those playing, okay, infrastructure for sports are established. Who is responsible to give the awareness about what is going on here? This playing ground used to be 3, but now it has reduced to 1. Who is to take that report? And I'm saying it. Government, the current government has capitalized on a already established sporting venues established by the former president. You know, all these political leaders, they gather their people, they talk to those local people, those sports venues. Now, do they have eyes? Do they see what they don't see? Or they are waiting for someone to report to them? Whose mistake is this?
All right.
Then, 2.
The last one.
Tear gas at the playing ground. Yes, spectators, they can be bullied. Now, for you, do you want to go and start sensitizing them when the sport is on? The players are playing, then you are coming and tell them, don't do this, don't do this. No, we are always late in everything we do. You government, you agree and admit. We need even some training for the spectators. Awareness have to go deep there. People, you are going to watch match between maybe Zilla and Express. Make sure, mind you, if you are drunk or if you are you be low citizen, then they will know that when we are going to spectate the game, we have to be in this way. You know, the earlier the better.
All right.
So embezzlement,
Thank
corruption,
you.
all these years. Only that time has cut us short. I
Yeah,
have
sure.
a lot of points to raise. Thank you.
Most welcome. You
Yes.
can keep the chat on our online platforms. We are on Facebook, UBC Radio. We are on Twitter, UBC Radio. We are also on Instagram, UBC Radio. We can keep all those messages coming in. Uganda at 60, the journey of sports development in the country. Our time is fast spent. I will pause the callers and we go back to the studio and we use a few seconds that we have in that we may tackle others issues that we have on Luanga. We think, and many Ugandans think, that we have not rewarded our sportsmen and women the way we would. Are you happy on how those medals bearers have been awarded by government and by the people of Uganda? Because what we see in Kenya is different from what we see here.
Actually, it is a bit unfortunate that time has run out, okay? But me, I'm an educationist. I started teaching officially in 1987 up to this current time because even my job in UPC entails to teach, to inculcate knowledge. Now, where we are failing is not that we have not rewarded the athletes. It is that simple teacher's budget which make miracles. A teacher will be paid very low money, but he will plan for that money very adequately. Now our athletes, they get a burst, they get a big boom. And when they get a boom, the psychology in the head has not been planned. Okay, so much as the government would give them whatever they may want to give them, cars, millions, and people mobilize, that element they call the sportsman, the sportswoman, has not been educated. We don't have sports management colleges or universities which instill discipline, which miamwe UPC kada who was trained by Dr. Paul Milton Obote when I was in Zambia. So there are so many things I cannot do because I learned from the foot of the master. Okay. Now, I challenge my brother here, apart from getting the medals, let us try to tell the late Majidu Masisi that you were supposed to have done this and this. You did not do. Now this is the consequence. Everybody is following your legacy. You go to the peak, you go down. I will exonerate the government in this.
Okay. Interesting. Our time is fast spent. We may not go beyond this very minute, but I would love to pick the idea from General Secretary of National Council of Sports. Apart from rewarding, how is sports as an industry empowering the youth who are the majority in this country?
Thank you, Herman. I want to first start by saying that our strategy actually as a government, now we are drafting reward and recognition scheme. Firstly, as part of our national development program for our distinguished athletes who give us the pride as a country, such that we don't look at it like a political reward. It is a national reward, because that would encourage an athlete today and tomorrow.
Okay.
2, we feel that the aspect of preparing athletes is not only in the field, it is also off the pitch. We are talking about professionalizing management of sport, where we have different aspects of technical people, mentoring, coaching our athletes, psychologists, nutritionists, managers. Globally, you might be interested to note that people like Joshua Cheptegei today have an international manager. There is somebody who is basically managing the monies that is bringing on the table and investing it for things that will help him tomorrow, even after retirement. Across the board, this is a message to all federations, but you should not, Amon, and all the listeners, the players, good as they are, belong somewhere.
Okay.
They belong to clubs, and that's why we look forward to professional management of federations, of clubs, where you put a marketeer to do marketing for an athlete, because that is the brand. You must have a corporate way of doing things because you are now in another world. So this is a message from government, and we are going to make it paper to pen. I appreciate.
Please, let me get one caller. UBC, ground zero. Please, when you call, just distance yourself from the radio because it creates some echo in the radio, and that affects our ears. I think we may not go beyond this. Let me get this one. UBC, ground zero, 776511426 is the number that you can reach us on. If time is not our friend, let's go to our way forward. I will start with you, Luanga. We have heard from the people of Uganda, the president of Athletics Federation, from National Council, and having this one. UBC, you're the last.
This is Martin from Muyenga.
You are the last, and you have only seconds, sir.
Yes, I wanted just to know, these athletes, they are just here in Central or the whole of Uganda? Because other things they are giving here in Central, or those ones which they have gone, or those ones which they have known. But if you go back to the district, those things those people they are not getting anything at all. Even they are saying that money for sports and what. That's what I wanted to know. Are they here in Kampala only?
Thank you. You heard from Baguma and Martin from Muyenga. Those are the concerns of the people of Uganda for the few calls that we've picked, and many others are coming in, but my time may not allow. Let me start with you, Ruanga, in only 1 minute, and I will get back to Doctor for the other minute, and you address such issues.
Yes.
Thanks very much for hosting us and giving us this opportunity of sharing.
And before you conclude, you may answer the concerns of the people of Uganda.
Okay. And it exactly answers it. Our first UPC government was supposed to build Nambole in the 60s. But as they were supposed to build Nambole, another dimension came in. Why should we build a very big stadium which we may not look after? Can't we convince the Chinese to split it into 4, such that we can have 4 small regional stadiums, and we see how we can boost sports? By taking sports to rural areas with such a facility, you are killing several birds using one stone.
Okay.
You are bringing in rural development, you are controlling the rural-urban migration, and you are directly eating into the talent. So, our government needs to think outside the box. This mix-up of things being seen Kampala focused, it doesn't help our sports very much, because Kampala has become too squeezed. The playing fields or the sports facilities are competing with other activities. But take it up country. When you take it up country, you can have all the facilities.
Okay.
And you can plan adequately. And I want to assure you that most of the camps which go on very successful are in up country places, because no one will come to interfere or to interrupt. And the local economy, the local scenery, they fuse in very much.
Okay.
I have worked in up-country places or rural areas. I don't enjoy being in Kampala. Okay.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes.
Dr. Ogwell, looking forward, this is a unique discussion that I must really say. And diverse talent is one area of socio-economic potential Uganda has not taken serious at all levels. What is your take on that?
Diversification, as I mentioned, is good for development, because diversification in the real sense provide alternatives, other alternatives, not only one. So I'm in agreement with that proposal.
Okay.
Now, you are tasked just to respond to some of these issues.
You have only a second.
I have noted that one, the responsibility for national development is not in central government alone.
Okay.
And the issues of sports infrastructures, schools, and land being abused is resting with the respective communities and the leaders in those districts, whom we should make them accountable. Because these are our things, and we must be able. Central government role basically is general supervision of activities of national development and ensuring the policies of government of Uganda is implemented in line with the law.
Thank you.
At the level of National Council of Sports, we are working closely as mandated in the National Council of Sports Act to work closely with the district local government. And when I say this local government, I'm talking about all the districts of Uganda where we have touch with the district chairpersons, the councils, the chief administrative officers, the district sports officers, and the rest.
Thank you.
When we look at sports as an holistic development strategy for government, we would put everybody to do the role that require national development, like internal education development. Every part of Uganda will get involved at their lowest level.
Your last comment, Doctor?
My last comment is to thank you, Amon and UBC, for this opportunity to fast track on where we have come from up to this stage. And this debate should continue, because we want to open also understanding of our people, what we can do better by interacting with them. So to me, it is a very blessed and very, very nice moment to have this interaction with my good friend now, Dr. Luanga. I have really learned a lot from him. Indeed, he's a researcher, because there's some key issues he mentioned here I have not known, but I've also learned today. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I will look forward to come back and give more insights into what government is doing for the future of this country.
Interesting, and we shall be glad if you come back, because the people of Uganda really need this kind of discussion. I must thank you for sparing time to speak to us and to the people of Uganda through UBC Radio and on UBC Ground Zero. Thank you, Dr. Bernard Patrick Ogwell, the General Secretary from National Council of Sports. Dr. Ranga Christopher is the head of Ideology Research and Documentation from UPC Secretariat. And we heard from Dominic Otucheti, is the president of Uganda Athletics Federation. We've been talking about Uganda at 60, the journey of sports development in the country. I'm Paide Amon Otega. From all of us at UBC, wish you all the best, and for good and my country, allow me to sign out.
That was Ground Zero Season 2, a production of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Tune in to Ground Zero on UBC Radio. We discuss politics.
The money we collect as taxes in the country, we lose it in corruption.
Economics.
The 4 economic sectors where their jobs and wealth are: commercial agriculture, industries, services, and ICT.
Education.
The classes which will not need an abridged curriculum are the entry-level classes of P1, Senior 1, and Senior 5.
Culture and religion. And other areas of human interest. Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio. Don't miss.